Hey y'all, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. Today I'm very excited to be doing this video because not only is it talking about eyeshadow palettes, we're also just talking about my favorite eyeshadow palettes in different categories, and I love that. You guys know I always like an excuse to sit down and chat with you guys about palettes that I've already have. I love reviewing new palettes, but getting to talk about what I already have and what I've already used before is always so much fun for me. So today I'm going to be sitting down and sharing with you guys my top 3 eyeshadow palettes in different categories. Now, I saw this originally from Angelica Niquez, so I will leave her channel link down below, but I also saw Heather Austin do this, and she added a question at the end, or like not a question, but like a category at the end, which I'm going to do, and also kind of inspired me to also add my own category. So I guess as this tag continues on, it's just kind of evolving as everyone adds their favorites. We'll get into that in a little bit, but anyway, I think Angelica was inspired by another creator, so I will leave everyone linked down below, but like I said, I originally saw Angelica Niquez do this tag. But yeah, it's going to be talking about eyeshadow palettes and sharing my top 3 in different categories, from neutral to rainbow to monochromatic, all the different categories, and I'm so excited. So I have a ton of palettes here to talk about. Let's just go ahead and jump right in. I can share with you guys some top favorites. Hey, hello. I know I just told you guys we were jumping into the video, but I have to interrupt. It's a new day, new makeup, all that sort of thing. But I have a sponsor for this video that I want to go ahead and insert right here and share a little bit about with you guys, and it is Ana Luisa. If you are new here, this is a brand that I have done sponsored content for in the past, and I'm really excited to be partnering with them for a year to share different sales and whatnot. And of course, because we're in November, I'm here to share with you guys about their Black Friday sale that they're amping up for. And they're going to have a lot of really amazing pieces at really great prices. It's going to vary between pieces and the days, but as we lead up to Black Friday, it's going to continue to amp up to some sets being 60% off, which is an amazing price for these really high quality pieces. I'm always wearing their jewelry in my videos. Even if I don't wear a necklace, I always have earrings going on, so you guys always see me wearing theirs. This is my favorite pair of their earrings. These are called the Elise, and they have different styles of these Elise. I'll go ahead and stick up close up so you guys can see them a little bit better. But these, you can either get the teardrop, they have a mini if you want them a little bit smaller, so I have a set for my daughter, or you can get them stacked where there's 2 of them. I absolutely love this. It's very pretty and it's very simple as well, so it just kind of fits in with my day no matter what I'm wearing, where I'm going. I feel like it always just works so nicely, and they're so comfortable, and the quality is amazing. I wear them day in and day out, and I've never had an issue with any of them. And then for my necklace, it's one of their layered sets. I couldn't find it on the website. I'll go ahead and put it on the screen right here because I can't remember what it's called, but this is one of my favorite pieces. If I had to pick one category that was my favorite from Ana Luisa, it would definitely be their layered sets, just because it's just so much versatility. This came as one complete piece, all 3 of these pieces, and I absolutely love how versatile they are because this charm comes off, so you can use this charm with any one of the necklaces. You can wear one necklace alone, and I just love how you can totally change up a look to go with whatever you have going on. You can wear 1 alone, 3 together, 2 together. I'm always changing it up, and I have several other layering pieces, and they are so cohesive, and they just are such good quality, and they go so well together that I'm always changing up and mixing up the different layers to kind of put something fun together, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, their layering pieces are my favorite. And I also have one of their bracelets. It's called the Laura Blair, if I remember correctly, but it has just a little diamond right there, a little band here, but the place where you like tighten it and loosen it is just so easy to like fix yourself, like one-handed. You're not sitting here trying to like, you know, do the clasp or anything. I just hold on to the pieces and then I pull down until I like where it's at, and then I can easily loosen it. And it's not too like easy to loosen where I'm afraid it's going to loosen by itself and slip off. It's very, very secure. It feels very nice, very high quality, very, very pretty. And I just love the dangly bits, because even if you have the front kind of down this way, I think it looks really pretty. And then if it's kind of turned around, I think that's still really pretty as well, to have the 2 dangly pieces coming down and the little charms at the end is so very nice quality. And as I was going to say, Ana Luisa is a sustainable jewelry brand where they really focus on producing pieces, not only quality pieces, but also being mindful of the impact they have on the environment. So recycling the materials that they use, as well as producing small batches to cut down on any unnecessary waste. And I know they stand for so much more. So if you're at all curious in wanting to check out a brand that you can purchase from them and know that they're very conscious of what they're doing to the environment and trying to make sure that they aren't harming it more, definitely recommend you check out Ana Luisa. I will have their link down in my description box. As I said, this video is sponsored, so if you want to shop through my links, that helps me out and lets them know that you were interested and heard about them from me. But definitely, you're going to want to check out their website if you are at all interested in purchasing some jewelry for gifts this year. Ana Luisa would definitely be my recommendation, as really great quality pieces, because I've owned these for for over a year, some of them over a year at this point, and they hold up, they look so nice, they're easy to maintain and whatnot. So definitely would recommend them. And you guys know me, if there's a sale, that's the time for me to hop on it. It's definitely a time to check them out. So I'll leave, as I said, the link down below. So yeah, that is gonna do it for me. Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this portion of the video. I am so sorry I had to do this on a different day, but we're just going with the flow around here. So with that said, now we can go ahead and segue right into the video for sure now. I'm so sorry to keep you waiting so long, but let's get right into it. Alright, so the first category was top neutral palettes. So my top 3 neutral palettes, immediately off the top of my head, I had several come to mind. So as someone who isn't super into neutrals, I still have my staple neutral palettes that in my eyes, they're neutral to me. And so I always think of them when I want to go more neutral or whatnot, or just have recommendations for neutral palettes. So the very first one that was off the top of my head, of course, I'm sure this comes as no surprise. You guys should let me know down below in the comments, either as you're watching this video or at the end. Let me know if you're able to guess any of these top 3 recommendations, because you guys know my likes, you guys know the categories. You have to let me know if you're able to predict what I was going to pick. But anyway, Menagerie Killer Purr palette. This is one of my favorite all neutral palettes. It's very neutral, but it has that pop of interest, and the tones that it has for being very neutral are tones and colors that I love. So when I originally got this palette, I absolutely loved it. Had so much fun creating looks with it. It's still a palette that I think back of very fondly. The mattes are so buttery smooth. The shimmers aren't a favorite of mine. Neither one of these in the palette are a favorite of mine, but this palette, I love it for the mattes. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So definitely a palette that came to the top of my head very quickly. And then following that up, this is a newer palette, but anytime I think of neutrals now, I think of this palette. This is Nomad's America's Parks palettes. This palette is more colorful, true, but if you look at it, it's very neutral and just earthy tones. And for me personally, when it comes to neutral palettes, I think of earthy tones a lot, and like not like super vibrant and bright, but still colorful and subdued. And I feel like this kind of sums it up for me. So while it is colorful, I know it's a little bit more colorful than like super like neutral brown, it still in my eyes is a very pretty neutral palette. I love the quality of Nomad's mattes. They're just so buttery smooth, so easy to work with. They're just such a dream to blend out. And then these shimmers are also really pretty. This one is just such a pretty, almost like purple to taupe. It's a very beautiful, like taupey gray or something. Very beautiful, very unique. Maybe it's not quite neutral and like all brown, but this is definitely a palette that I just thought was very neutral for me. That's why I picked it for a neutral palette. And then the last one, I figured I would redeem myself since that last palette wasn't exactly like brown neutral. I would give you guys a like strictly brown neutral palette. And that is the Give Me Glow, what's this called? Sweet and Sticky palette. This palette is a phenomenal. If you want like strictly to the keeping it to the brown neutrals, this is a great little palette. And I love that it's a small palette with only 6 shadows, but nothing goes to waste. Like there isn't a color in here that I'm like, oh, that's too close to the other one. You didn't need both of them in here. I thought they did a great job with this palette, putting it together, making it very easy to create looks, very easy to get variety, even though it is such a tiny palette. So this is a great palette. The mattes for Give Me Glow, absolutely love them, and their shimmers, oh my goodness. You want to see a blinding white shimmer? Look at that, it's just so pretty. I'm going to try not to swatch because I'll just end up being a mess, even though I need to clean off my finger now. But their shimmers are one of my favorites. Like if I have to think of a brand off the top of my head that has my favorite shimmers, Give Me Glow is definitely one of them, if not at the top, because they're so metallic and they always pack a punch when it comes to the color, which I love. So definitely could not forget including this neutral palette because it's just a phenomenal neutral palette for me in my preferences, and in my opinion, I love it. The next is going to be rainbow palettes, and this one was easy, and I'm sure this comes as no surprise. Again, you'll have to let me know if you guessed any of these, but September Rose Slush palette. This is my OG when it came to like getting into indie makeup and getting into very colorful rainbow palettes. This was one of those palettes that I stumbled across as I was getting more into color, and I had this palette and I was just like, oh my goodness, a whole new world has opened up, and I absolutely loved it. So I definitely had to include this one in this palette ranking because it's just such a great palette. It's like, you know, the rainbow, yes, but there's so many options. There's so many ways you can go with this. I love the mattes in here as well as the shimmers. I think some of the shimmers were a little bit of a miss, but especially the more vibrant ones, like they packed a punch. I think they might have taken a little bit longer to pack on because it does feel a little bit more thin, but you can still get the color there. It's been over a year since I've tried this, so that's why I'm a little bit like, I can't exactly remember. I did do a 3 looks 1 palette with this, so if you want to see the looks that I got and get a review from me back when I first tried it, you can check out that video. But I still think back to this palette very fondly, and it's just a solid rainbow palette that gives you a lot of versatility, a lot of options. You could spend a whole month in this palette and I feel like still create a new look every single day. So I love that about it. So yeah, first one easily went to the Slush palette, but then also I had to think, I was thinking like rainbow palettes, what else do I want? And then I was like, well, what about a pastel rainbow? Give me Glow Pastel Dreams. This is like, if I had to give one recommendation when it came to pastel shadows, it would be the Pastel Dreams because I love her matte pastels. And I've tried probably 4 other brands besides this brand when it comes to pastel shadows, or maybe 5 even. I'm getting up there. I mean, I've tried Glaminatrix, I've tried Menagerie, I've tried Poppy Cosmetics, I've tried iHeart Revolution, or iHeart Beauty, whatever their brand is. I've tried one of their pastels. Anyway, so I've tried a lot. This is by far, hands down, my favorite. Like, it just stands so far above the others because I love how intensely pigmented her mattes are. Her mattes, when it comes to being super duper pastel, are so intense and like easy to work with. They stand out on your eyes and they look very pastel when you're wearing them, but they still look intense. I think that's my biggest kind of con when it comes to pastels, is that I would wear them and I would blend them in and it was like, oh, I think you have a hint of blue on your eyes. Like, it's so light and pastelish. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want color to pop. So I love that I can get a very popping but still pastel look with this. And then her shimmers, like I've already talked about her shimmers. It holds true with all of these. Here, I'll do the blue one just because I already swatched the blue, but like, look at that. Oh, so shiny, so beautiful, so easy and so smooth to work with. Absolutely love it. So yeah, I wanted to kind of go the more pastel route because, like I said, I've tried a handful of them, and this one is forever and always, I feel like, gonna be one of my favorites. And it's a rainbow, like you have all the colors that you would need. And then finally, to follow that up, I had to think of one more palette, but this is the Menagerie Serenity palette, and this is the collab palette with Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. Here is the palette. It's so very colorful and so very beautiful, and any look that I got out of it, I just felt like a beautiful rainbow. Like, it was so much fun. The palette is inspired by butterflies, and I feel like she did it so much justice because there's so many times I would create looks and I would get comments on my Instagram because I always share my makeup in the morning after I finish doing it. I always share like a makeup of the day picture on my stories, and I would get so many comments of people saying like, oh my goodness, you look like a butterfly, or you look like a rainbow, or something like that. So she definitely did a fantastic job when putting this color story together because it's so colorful. There's so many color options. It really is a fantastic rainbow palette, and quality is just like, oh my goodness, the best palette I've tried from Menagerie Cosmetics, because not only are the mattes in here amazing, but I love all the shimmers in here, which, as I just mentioned earlier in this video, I typically don't like Menagerie shimmers, but these shimmers, every one of them, I thought was fantastic. So yeah, definitely had to give this one a place in my top 3 because it was just so amazing. Alright, next up is going to be top 3 monochromatic palettes, and this one, whenever I think of monochromatic, immediately the top of my head is like, what's my favorite green monochromatic palette? Because you guys know I have a thing or a problem when it comes to green. I just love trying green palettes, and green monochromatic palettes is like even better. Anyway, so the first one I thought of is a newer palette to me, but this is the Ace Beaute Tropical Vibes palette. I just recently reviewed it on my channel, and it is just, I'm stained green, but let's just ignore that finger. It's just amazing. Like, this is such a beautiful green palette. I love that it's so focused on the green theme, but it still has a little bit more interest in there of, you know, complementary colors that aren't strictly green. And then just have a variety of different types of greens, because like this, it almost looks yellow, but it is still like a lime greeny shade, and this is more of like a blue greeny shade. And then you have all the ones in between that are just so grungy and gorgeous. So if you're someone who likes grungy green and you're looking for a monochromatic palette, I feel like this one will hit the nail on the head. There's so many options. It's a larger palette. It's a pretty good price. I should clarify here, I feel like I have to do this in every video because in my review video, I accidentally put in the video that this retailed for $45, but that is incorrect. I don't know what I was looking at that made me think it was $45, but this is not. It's $38.99. I'll put it on the screen here so I don't mess it up again, but just to throw it out there, I'm going to mention it again when I do my palette palooza, just to make sure you guys know. I felt so bad when someone told me that, like, hey Katie, it's not that much money. But anyway, moving on, it's a great palette, especially for the price. You can wait for a sale. It's such a good price. It's such good quality. Like, the mattes in here, I absolutely love. The shimmers in here, there's only 3. They're very nice. They're very sparkly and blindy and beautiful. I can't say they're my absolute favorite, but they're very pretty, and so I don't mind working with them, even though, like I said, they're maybe a little bit of a pain to pick up because they're more of like a flaky type of sparkly shimmer, but still so very pretty. So it's just a palette that I'm going on and on about. Absolutely love it. So definitely thought of that palette when it came to monochromatic palettes. What happened to my little my little thingy that was cleaning off my finger that's not working because it's stained. Anyway, moving on from that, another green palette that I loved, and this is more of like the blue green or just like yeah, like minty blue green. This is the Sweet Shop Pistachio palette from BH Cosmetics. I love this for the more like very vibrant, very not really neon, but very bright in contrast to the more grunge of the Tropical Vibes palette. So I love this for a green palette. I don't know if it's available, like comes in and out of stock, but regardless, if you're able to pick it up, it's BH Cosmetics, so not very expensive, and it's just a great little monochromatic palette. I love the variety that they give you with the shimmers and the mattes here. I was very happy with this. This is another palette that I have a 3 looks 1 palette video up, and you can check that video out for more in-depth, you know, thoughts and opinions on the matte and shimmer quality, because it's been a little while since I've used this. I just remember having a great time with it and creating a lot of fun looks, and I remember the shimmers were also really nice. I need to move to a different finger because this one's getting so stained, but like, ooh yeah, that shimmer is just so very pretty. So I had a great time with it, and it's that's a nice intense shimmer there. So definitely monochromatic when I'm kind of thinking more bright green. This is one of the first palettes that comes to mind because it's just such a fantastic palette. And then last up, I wanted to kind of steer away from the green because I could pick all green palettes here, but I wanted to steer away from the green and share with you my favorite yellow monochromatic palette. And this is from Midas Cosmetics, and this is their Lemonade palette. And this is just a nice little palette. If there's one thing I could improve on it is that I wish that the darker shade went deeper, because all the looks in here are a little bit either light to monotone, and you guys know I like to go deep to medium to light. You know, that's kind of like what the range I like to see in a palette. So this one with this shade, even when I packed it on, it was a little bit mid-tone instead of being really deep and having a lot of saturation. But honestly, that's my only kind of con. The mattes in here worked really nicely, and I just remember having so much fun, and I remember like getting so many compliments. This is the matte that I'm showing you here. I just thought was so very intense and vibrant here, and it shows up really nicely on the face as well. I got so many compliments when I wore this look when I was reviewing it originally. Yeah, her shimmers are also really pretty, but they're a little bit more of like a smooth type of shimmer, not anything like metallic, not anything like sparkly. There's nothing like sparkle reflect, but it's just a really nice smooth shimmer that you could probably wet and it would show up more metallic as well. But overall, when I was just thinking of another palette that I really enjoyed for, you know, being just a nice solid monochromatic palette, this is one of the palettes that always come to mind because it's just a fantastic yellow theme palette. Okay, and here's where I want to insert my own category. I feel like it fits here better than at the end because we've just talked about neutrals, then we talked about rainbow, then we talked about monochromatic, and now I want to add to it a two-toned category. I just recently did a video sharing all of my favorite two-tone type of color stories in my collection. I never know exactly what it's supposed to be called. Like monochromatic is so easy because it's just a word that everyone accepts for one color story, like with different hues in a palette. But what do you do when it's like strictly 2 different colors that have different hues in the same palette? I call it two-tone palettes, but again, I don't know if that's a proper term. But anyway, I just recently did a video because I love two-tone palettes. I love a palette that focuses on strictly 2 colors that give you different hues that allow you to create a lot of fun looks, complementing those 2 or using one, you know, by itself and the other by itself on a different day. I just feel like they're very versatile. So I'm adding this two-tone category here, and for that I have 3 palettes because I just said I did a whole video talking about my favorite ones, but I picked my 3 top favorites. And the first I have to give it to an OG, and this is the Whalesong palette. This is like the original two-tone color story because this is a green and blue color story that's very grungy, and it was one of the first palettes, or no. Feral was the first one, and then I think this one was next when I first started getting into Menagerie. But this was most definitely the palette that I was just like captivated with because at the time I was a lot more into neutrals, or I was getting into color, not super into color, but this was like color that felt very safe for me because it was that grunge and kind of more earthy tones and just a little bit more safe than like really bright rainbow out there type of eye look. So I remember just really enjoying this palette for that aspect of it. But it's a fantastic, very grungy blue-green color story. And this is a palette that with the shimmers, there's 4 in here. 2 of them I wasn't a fan of because it is their, you know, Menagerie's kind of typical formula that I'm not the biggest fan of. They're just like hard to pick up, hard to put down, a little bit flaky. But these 2 I actually really did enjoy, and I really did like because they were a very different formula, and they're the type of formula that's in the Serenity palette that I do enjoy. So I enjoyed these, and then of course the mattes, per usual when it comes to Menagerie. Very colorful, very intense, very saturated, and very easy to blend out. You just have to be careful you don't pick up too much because Menagerie, especially her older formulas, is so like, not lightly pressed, but it's just so delicate that you could pick up too much on your brush and then you could make a big mess on your eyeball. But it's a fantastic color story. I'm going to do a shimmer and not touch the mattes because the mattes do stain my fingers really badly, but not so much my eyeballs when I use it. I don't know if it's because I prime my eyes first and I don't with my finger, but like look at that shimmer. So very pretty. So yeah, this was the first one I thought of. Let me clean off my hand and then we can go on to the next one, which is a bit of an older palette, but again, one of those color stories that's strictly 2 tones, but it gives you different hues to play around with. And it is the Shroud and Beaute Bean It's Freaking Bats palette. And this is a very like green purple theme. And the green is a little bit flexible, like maybe you could call that a blue green, but still it's like kind of on the green spectrum. So that's why I said, you know what, this is like a purpley. You got the purple tones in there, you got the green tones. The Shroud and Beaute Bean collab was phenomenal. The quality in this is fantastic. The mattes, I had no issues blending with them. They're very pigmented and beautiful. And then the shimmers, oh my goodness. Would you look at this? I love a good lime green, and this is absolutely beautiful. They're mostly just like a really solid metallic shimmer type of formula that shows up so nicely on the eyes, so very pretty and very easy to apply. I love a good shimmer metallic that's easy to apply. That's always my criteria. But anyway, fantastic formula, fantastic quality, and I just had to include this palette here because I forgot to include it in my two-toned video from before. So that's another reason I was like, I gotta mention this here, because after the video when I was looking at this, I was like, how could you forget that, Katie? How? But anyway, I forgot it, so I'm including it here. And then last up for this category is the DeDe Signature Tropical Vibes palette, and this is a blue-orange color story that is so much fun. This was a ton of fun to create looks with. I just love the mix of orange and blue. It's a color combination that I don't think to put together often, but having this palette, it kind of forced me to, and I was like, I really like orange and blue together. They look really good. So I definitely want to include this palette here because it's just a nice, very condensed, concise, you know, 6-pan palette, but it gives you so many options. DeDe Signature's formula is very nice. Her matte formula is very pigmented, very intense, a little bit more thinner than I think you would maybe expect. Still very soft to pick up, but the formula itself is thin. So I find that I like to tap it on and pack it on and then blend, and I never have any issues blending. And then her shimmer formula is also very pretty. In this palette, it's more of like a metallic type of formula. It's nothing super sparkly, but they're still very, very pretty. So I did really enjoy this palette and had to include it here. Next up is small mini palettes, and for this one, might be, you know, feel like somewhat of a cheat because it's all from the same brand, but they're all so good that when it comes to, you know, them being small palettes, they're all little quads. It just blew all my other quads out of the water. And these are from DeDe Signature. This one is the Avocado palette. It's a little quad that's green themed and it's just so very pretty. I already just told you guys about the formula. It's the same in these little quads. The other quad that I picked was the Blueberry palette because, oh my goodness, the shimmers in here, I cannot like convey to you how intense they are. With this quad, I wish one of the dark matte blues were switched out with a bright blue, and then it would have been like a home run. But as it is with these two blues being so very similar, it's a bit of a disadvantage. However, I still feel like this quad is worth it because the two shimmers are unreal and just like unlike I feel like any type of blue shimmer that I've ever tried before. They're so very pretty. So I feel like this quad is worth it just for the shimmers. And then last up for my other pick and my top 3 spot is the DeDe Signature Passionfruit. I'm such a mess. I said I wasn't gonna get a mess and I am a mess. But this is the Passionfruit that I'm throwing around. And it is a purple and orange color story that is so very fun. This purple shimmer is more like a kind of a topper type of shadow because it doesn't have a ton of color to it, but it has a lot of sparkle, a lot of reflect. But this coppery tone, it's just like, it looks like liquid copper on your eyes. It's so pretty. And then the mattes just complement and work together so beautifully. They blend in so very well. So yeah, those are my picks when it comes to, you know, mini palettes. What's my top 3? This collection was just so bomb. It just blew all my other mini, you know, quad palettes out of the water, and I had to pick these 3 for that category. Next up is affordable palettes. So my top 3 affordable palettes, and the first 2 were absolutely easy. The first one that came to mind was my Beauty Bay Wilderness palette because this retails for $15 and you get this many shades, and the quality of this is fantastic. These shimmers in here are so like reflective and beautiful and have so much sparkle to them. They're absolutely amazing. And then the mattes in here as well are just so very pretty, so very intense and pigmented, and so easy to work with. They don't take a lot of work to build up, and it's just a gorgeous color story too. That's another reason I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic color story. You got your grungy greens in there, but then you have a row of green and just like warm tone neutrals, and then you have this blue up here. It's so much fun. I love that you got the like minty green to the really grungy green. It's a fantastic color story. I was so excited when Beauty Bay finally restocked it because they weren't really sure they were going to restock it. They were going to keep it limited edition, but I'm glad they brought it back so that people who missed out on the initial launch were able to pick it up because it's just such a fantastic palette. For how much it is, it's $15. You get so much in here and the quality is so very good. So number 1 that came to mind when I was thinking the most affordable palette in my collection. What's the top one? obviously the Wilderness palette. But then also another fantastic palette is the LA Girl Mainstage Desert Dream eyeshadow palette. I almost forgot about this, and I think it's just because this came out at the beginning of the year, or at least I reviewed it at the beginning of the year. But this palette is fantastic. I can't remember the price off the top of my head, but I think it's around $15. I'll put it on the screen here. But this is a fantastic formula. Like the quality of the mattes and the shimmers in here I think blew me out of the water the most, just because I wasn't expecting how intense and beautiful they are. But also the mattes, they're very soft to the touch. They're very pigmented. They blend very nicely. Color story is absolutely beautiful. I was blown away by how much I love this. And again, it's one of those where it's like you get so much versatility. It's a rather large palette. You get such great quality, and it's really affordable, at least for me in my kind of range of affordability. It's a really affordable palette. Like also too, I should say, so many times this year I've seen LA Girl on sale for less than $10. I think it's around $7. And there's so many times where it's like, gosh, should I pick up an extra? Because for that price, like, it's such a steal. Like the quality is so, so good. Another palette that came to mind that I was blown away with how much I enjoyed it, and it's such a good price, is the iHeart Revolution Tasty Avacado palette. This palette is just such a cute little palette, and the quality in here blows me away. And when you think about how many shadows you get and the quality it is for how much it is, it's a great price. It's around that $15 price, but this is another palette where, again, I always see it on sale. iHeart Revolution is always having sales, so that would be my recommendation, is wait for a sale. But the quality of the mattes is so nice and smooth, and the quality of the shimmers, there's like two different quality, or like two different type of shimmers. One of them is like just a nice solid shimmer, like it doesn't have anything metallic, doesn't have anything super sparkly. But then there's other ones in here that are like super sparkly, super intense, and super beautiful. Oh wait, there's nothing on here. I don't know why I'm showing you this finger. But anyway, quality in here really surprised me, especially since I had tried other iHeart Revolution products in the past, or palettes in the past, and I wasn't a big fan of them, but this one blew me away. The only con that I could find with it is that there are a lot of colors that are so close, it almost seems unnecessary. So it's like you could have taken maybe a row somewhere out because of how many repetitive shades there are. Like these two, when you get them on your eye, it's like, oh, you're kind of like just the same. These two, it's like, oh, you could have had one or the other. So there's a couple of those in this palette, but again, for the affordability, for the quality, I think it's a great steal. I think it's a great palette to have, and if you like the color stories, I recommend it. Next category is the luxury or most expensive category, and this one, the first two were so easy because it's in the last year, this last year, 2021, that I made these purchases, and they were so expensive, it hurt me. First one, obviously, I'm sure everyone's gonna guess this, Natasha Denona Circo Loco palette. This one just hurt. Like, I love the palette. I think the palette is fantastic quality. The mattes in here are so lovely. The shimmers in here are so easy to work with and so very special. Like, they have a lot of, you know, shimmer and shine to them. They pack a punch. They're easy to put on. I don't remember any qualms with that. I think the only thing, what was it? Two shadows. This one and this one. They were very light on my skin, so they kind of, I just wish they had packed more of a punch, but literally that's it. Everything else in this palette I thought was really nice. Oh yeah, these two, the oranges, I was like, one's matte, one's shimmer. That's literally the only difference because they're the exact same color. So that was a little bit, I was annoyed at that too. But besides that, I love this palette. The looks that I created with this palette were so fun and so, you know, creative, and had, you know, I love the color combinations. And anytime I see someone creating looks with this palette, I always love the looks that they create. So I love the color story, I love the quality, but boy, the price tag hurts me every time I sit down and think about it. And every time I sit down and think about that, it's like, oh, should I resell that and recoup some of the loss, because that was a lot of money. But anyway, moving on past that, it qualified because it's the most expensive palette that I own in my collection. So I was like, yep, this gets the top spot. Anyway, moving on past that, Glaminatrix You Beauty comes in next because with shipping, oh my goodness, with the shipping, this was over or just around $100, which is expensive for me. So this qualified it as well. And this is another color story and another palette that I thought the quality was really nice and the color story was beautiful. It created such beautiful looks, but it hurt to pay it. It was just so expensive, but I really did like this. Like the shimmers were so intense. Why am I trying to look through the mirror in here? I should just look at the viewfinder. But the shimmers are really pretty. Oh, this one, still a favorite. I think I remember with the mattes, I really enjoyed them. They were a bit drier than I thought, so I tended to find that, not that you had to stab in like violently, but you definitely could dig your brush in to pick it up to really get a good amount on your brush to really make just applying your eyeshadows easier. But I mean, not to say that the quality was bad. They were just a little bit drier, so you could kind of stab in there, pick it up, and then go to town. And they were very pigmented. They lasted all day, and it's just such a fun and creative color story. But when we're talking about expensive, it was expensive. Last up for this category, I'm gonna also mention the OFRA Pro Palette. I got this in PR, so I didn't spend my money on it, but still, the reason I never purchased it before was because of how expensive it is. It's like $99. So even though I didn't purchase this myself, it's still so expensive. However, when I think about this without like thinking about the price tag, the quality is nice. It's more of a drier formula, but you have all these different colors. You have a nice rainbow palette to work with, and the colors and everything worked nice. Like I had no issues with the palette except for the price. So that's why I figured it qualified to be in this category, because it's a great palette. I think it's nice. If you like an all matte rainbow palette, this will create so many looks. Like you could just go to town, and they're huge pans, so you're never gonna run out, but still it is expensive. So yeah, that's another palette that I thought of that was just like, it's so expensive it qualifies. And then for the last category, this is the one that Heather Austin inserted or put in her video, and I thought I love the category, so I wanted to include it as well. But this is a category focused on shimmer sparkle. I forget exactly what she titled it. I'll have it in my description box, but I think it's like, you know, palettes that either focus on the shimmery and sparkle in their palettes, or they're strictly all shimmer palettes. Now I don't have many of those, so I only have one palette that is actually like an all shimmer palette that I love that I can put in here. But the other two palettes I'm going to mention are, a majority of them are all sparkly, or I love it because of all the sparkle that is in the palette. So that's why I'm putting them in this category. But the first one is from Flower Beauty, and it is the Jungle Lights palette. And I'm not going to open it because I dropped it when I was pulling it out, and I shattered this one, so I gotta press it back in there because I'm a klutz. Thankfully you can see it through the clear cover, but this palette is so beautiful. You know what? I want to swatch it though. I feel like I've been swatching all of them. Should I open it? I'll open it very carefully. Let's grab this one. But look at this. So shiny, and there's also a lot of sparkle in, maybe not all of them because I don't really see a lot of sparkle in this one, but in the green I can see it, in the purple that shattered, it was there as well as the dark purple. And let's see, do I see it in here? I see it in this one. So there were some shadows that had the sparkly reflect in it that is so very pretty, but all of them were like this intense gorgeousness that just, when you put it on, it just looked like liquid sparkle on your eyes, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, that is the one and only all shimmer palette that I can look at and confidently say like, yes, this is a top favorite. I love it so much. But moving on, like I said, the other two palettes I'm going to mention do have mattes in them, so I can't remember if Heather was like strictly all shimmers or if it could be kind of like how I'm interpreting it. But anyway, it's from What's Up Beauty. This is the Desert Monsoon palette, and this palette is gorgeous when it comes to the shimmers. The mattes in here were a little disappointing for me just because they're very just neutral, and they're, you know, besides the pink, they're very neutral and brown, so you couldn't have a whole lot of variety when it came to the mattes. But these shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful. Let me show you one of these. So we'll go ahead and do the purple one. Change it up here, but like, look at this. My fingers are so dirty. I don't really have a proper makeup remover wipe in here, so I'm just using like a little bit of water. My bad. But anyway, look at this. It like shifts from like blue to purple. It's so beautiful. I could just do this all day and look at it. It's so very beautiful. This one too, Sun. Oh, I'm so messy today, but like, look at this. They just look like liquid when you actually put them on your eyes and you're creating looks, and they have so much sparkle to them. They have so much shine to them. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. They got a lot of color as well. This was a palette that, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the mattes, but I still really like the palettes because the shimmers are so beautiful. Hence why I immediately thought of this palette when I was thinking about my favorite all shimmer, like shimmer focused type of palettes, because this definitely qualified. It's just such a fantastic palette. And then last up, another palette that I thought of mainly for the shimmers in it that I think are just so very special and sparkly. This is Odin's Eyes Hummingbird palette, and this is a collab with the Fancy Face Tina. And as you can see, this is a gorgeous, very colorful palette, and there are mattes in here, which I do like. I think the mattes in here are really nice quality. They got some fun colors in there to create really fun, different types of matte accents to the shimmers, I guess you could say. I love this palette as a whole, but when I look at this palette, the things that stand out the most to me are the shimmers, because they are so very vibrant in color and just so very special in the type of sparkle and shine that they give. This one is like a multi-chrome, and it is amazing. Like, look at this. So beautiful. My fingers are so dirty, but you can still see, I hope you can still see how beautiful that is. But then also too, like, look, this green was one of my favorites. It is so pretty. And then let's just swatch the orange as well. Like, oh my goodness, look at that orange. So very pretty. We gotta swatch the other one because I'm already a mess, and this is the last palette, so like, look at that. There's just so many shadows in here that are so special that are shimmers that's why I thought of this palette to include here. And anytime I see someone creating a look with this, I'm always mesmerized by the shimmer in the look. I just think it always steals the show when it comes to the look, and it's so very beautiful. So I had to include this palette in here as well, even though, like I said, it's not strictly all shimmer, but it still is a beautiful shimmery focused palette. All right, and that's a tag. My throat hurts again. I'm still trying to get over losing it a couple weeks ago, so anytime I sit down and talk for any length of time, I start to lose my voice again or whatever, and my hands are a mess. So I need to go like wash them before I get my face all dirty from touching it. But that is the video, that is the tag. I had so much fun. I have so many amazing palettes in front of me. Like I said, I love getting to sit down and do this type of video where I get to pull all my palettes and just share with you guys my top favorites. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know, as I said, down below in the comments, let me know which ones you guessed, if you're able to guess them all, or just which categories were you able to guess them all. Let me know down below. I always love to hear from you guys, and I feel like I could be very predictable. And a lot of you have great memories, and so you always amaze me at what you guys can remember of what I've said in the past or the palettes that I've tried in the past. So let me know what you're able to guess down below in the comments. And we're popping in here just a minute to say thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to check out the link if you want to do any type of Christmas shopping and check out any of their pieces that are great to mix and match and pair together. So thank you so much, Ana Luisa. Now let's keep going with Katie's outro. But that is going to do it for me. Thank you so very much for watching. If you want to continue to get daily content, I'm over on Instagram. I'm LadyKatie92. And with all that said, I'm going to go get a drink, and I'll see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye, guys.